All right, so I don't know how I managed to snag this, but
we happen to be at the same place at the same time.
What's funny is I kept kicking myself. So when I saw you pass through earlier,
yeah,
and you know what? This is actually when I was at PAX Unplugged last year. I remember thinking like, I'll never run into any of you guys. I remember saying like, as I mentioned, my first intro thing was that way long ago at a New York Comic Con, far, far away, you guys signed one of your Penny Arcade comic books. And I remember thinking like, wow, you guys are huge. And then I thought at PAX Unplugged last year, like, you know what? I'll never see those guys again. Like they're in some golden palace in the sky, and us plebes are walking around. And then today,
I'm from Spokane. I just, I understand. It's not unreasonable to think that might be the case, but at the same time, I remember when there was no such thing as an influencer. Like these are all new words, and I'm also white trash, and so at the end of the day, being fancy or like feeling like I'm better than people, that's.
But even beyond.
I mean, my mom would be mad. Like if I comported myself in such a way where I felt like people were being run roughshod or made to feel lesser, like. That's just not how my mom raised me. So
well, I appreciate it, because then when I saw you, I thought, you know what, I'm going to use the little in I have.
Take advantage.
And then I thought, and I didn't ask you if you could sit down for a minute. I'm like, you walked away, and
I'm
I was
at
like,
your service.
Oh. And then you came back. I said, you know what,
you bet I did.
This is.
I said I would.
This is my mom. You did. So, I mean, there's so much stuff I can ask you. Obviously, you're going to have your Acquisitions Incorporated. Does it still feel good doing it after all these years?
Oh, no question. Playing Dungeons & Dragons is very fun. And so I'm more than happy to play Dungeons & Dragons whenever I'm asked to. And then if you have the opportunity to play Dungeons & Dragons in front of thousands of people, I mean, you should take it.
I mean, I always appreciate the Green Flame, because Big Trouble in China, I don't know if that's the origin of it, but that's my origin.
No, obviously that's from Chris Perkins. That's where it came from. That is what that is the sacred iconography of that space.
But I appreciate it. So it still feels good. Are you going to wear a costume tonight, or are we costume free? Or
I think that having talked to Ryan and Laura, I think that costumes might be the norm for the show.
Okay. And there's a new season.
There is.
So how is that supposed to work?
Well, there's a couple of different things, right? So the season, that's actually connected to the Kickstarter.
Okay.
Which I'm overjoyed to announce is actually already funded in advance of this interview.
Nice.
So I don't have to chill it. It's already sold, right? So basically, the season is basically like, so obviously we have PAX East, PAX West, PAX Unplugged. Now, PAX Oz has RP as well, but PAX Oz is an opportunity for us to use Acquisitions Incorporated in a different way.
Okay.
So at PAX Oz, we actually do Call of Cthulhu.
With the kind of PAX the like Acquisitions Incorporated flavor.
My character is literally the same character.
So Call of Cthulhu with commerce. Call of Commerce, Commerce of Cthulhu.
If you will. But yeah, Omen Drawn, in that universe, we haven't even got into it in our first two games, but there is a relatively sophisticated backstory that we have not investigated yet in those campaigns. But, there may be some manifestations of that at the upcoming PAX Oz.
Now, are you going to be playing, is it going to be basically vanilla Call of Cthulhu? Because I know Call of Cthulhu now, all of history has been incorporated.
This isn't the D20 version or anything like that. This is the real.
You're going Chaosium.
The real Chaosium shit.
Right,
absolutely. Had a chance to meet some people from Chaosium when we were down there. They also love the show, and they love what we were able to put together for them. And I want nothing more than to continue trying to make great stuff for them. But here at PAX, this is the 15-year anniversary of.
Well, congratulations!
Thank you so much, of Acquisitions Incorporated. Now,
that means I should probably line up now if I want.
As soon as we're done here, why don't you go up there? But the basic idea for Ac Inc., is that, at the very last game that we played at PAX Unplugged, my daughter, Certainty Drawn, who is played by Jasmine Bular, she essentially cast a wish spell. So we had succeeded, we had won, but the result had essentially destroyed the entire company.
That's quite a price for a capitalist like Omen Drawn to pay.
Very, very tormented. And so as my daughter, of course, she used a wish that she had been granted by a fey creature. So obviously the results of that are always going to be bonkers, right? So she used a wish that she had to roll the campaign back. And then, but it was tied to a dice roll. And so she rolled the dice and it ended up being the duration of the campaign.
Wow.
And so it was an opportunity for us to roll it back and then rebuild the campaign. So it's an opportunity maybe to try things differently for this
you get a second chance.
For this next 15 years. Now, that being said, wishes are very sophisticated. And what's more, in that same game, as Asmodeus became Omen Drawn's deity. So there could be some sophistication around this, yeah.
How do you feel like Omen Drawn compares to, say, Logan Roy as a capitalist parent? Vast organization. Obviously, at some point, maybe succession is going to come up for Omen Drawn. What's going to happen there?
That's a big part of certainty. I mean, having my own daughter essentially like in the mix. She was revealed, of course, in the side campaign Acquisitions Incorporated, the C team. My fantasy, of course, is that we're able to pull this off, and Omen, unfortunately, thinks that he's smarter than the devil, and he probably isn't. And so there may be tragic, circumstances, in this space.
How far do you think we're going to get in that tonight? Not too far. This is just the beginning.
My guess is that I've had to create a new character.
Oh, really?
I created Omen Drawn at 3rd level because we've rolled the time back to the beginning, and so we're going to have to contend with.
So a lot of new challenges. A lot of your toys, a lot of your power is going to be gone.
A lot of my really, really powerful stuff that I've used to get myself out of a jam, particularly Raise Dead, Stone Shape, Spirit Guardians, like a lot of my go-to spells. I won't get those for a year, 2 years at least.
So it's going to be some new challenges. Well, that means it's fun. 'Cause I feel like, I don't know about you, but
D&D is at its best when you have to think hard.
Yeah, and I think low levels really push you to do that because you don't have...
Low-level D&D is my favorite D&D, so...
Do you prefer to DM or do you prefer to play? Because obviously you do both.
It doesn't matter to me very much. If I have a cool, fun idea, then I think that's pretty fun. But the truth is that even as a player, I'm like one of those backseat drivers where I'm like always describing shit and trying to take the reins and.
Yeah, so that's a really great segue, I guess, because you have the mech game that you now have been. I noticed on your YouTube channel, which has a lot of
Black
those.
Remnant, yeah.
Because I feel like. I haven't been able to watch all the episodes, but I feel like from what I've seen, there is a lot more of that. The system, it's not a D20 system. I think it's their own.
It's parallel. So they have a couple different variants of their mechanism for role-playing and for the war game aspect of Battletech, right? And obviously, like, even as we speak, they're in the midst of a multi-million-dollar Kickstarter. So their new MechWarrior Mercenaries line is already funded after 2 or 3 days at the multi-million-dollar level. So there's people that really want those sculpts. They want to take advantage of that. But inside Battletech, there's a couple different ways to play role-playing games. One of them, the newer one, is a little bit more streamlined. It's called MechWarrior Destiny. Now, MechWarrior Destiny is fully compatible with and has all the rules ready to go for what's called Alpha Strike, which is a sort of like a simmered, streamlined, like hyper-streamlined version of the Battletech wargame. And so between those two things, because these two systems are completely compatible with one another, we can do role-playing, storytelling, character building, character interaction.
When you go into mechs, it just
and then as soon as combat starts, we are engaging with the Alpha Strike streamlined wargame, and the stats and systems are completely carried across.
Now, how do you find it? Because that's one part of your streams I haven't seen was the actual comment. I caught
it's very new.
I caught all the
no. We've only been doing it for 2 weeks.
But I thought you had one comment, or maybe there wasn't.
We did.
And that's like the part of the first episode I think that I missed. And they're both
Yeah.
kid.
So our first game is like that, but I mean, both of these should be up on YouTube now, so you can grab them anytime you
How
want.
did you find the comment?
I love it.
Are you someone? I feel like I've seen you play like.
I played BattleTech in high school, and so I'm familiar with the basic system and the regular system. But I think that for our purposes, for the streaming and the hybrid RP war game, the combination of Destiny and Alpha Strike is actually
I
very,
feel like
very
it
good.
gives you don't feel like you're missing. So I mean, obviously, you always have to give up a little bit, but you feel
No,
like for the most part.
I mean,
you've got
Alpha Strike,
everything.
as somebody who played the old game, Alpha Strike is definitely boiled down. That being said, it's a typical war game thing where, yeah, these systems have been boiled down, but what it allows us to do is have much larger scale conflicts. So it's like, of course, as a war game, war gamers are going to a war game, no matter the context,
Sure.
right? And so in the context that we're using it, even though they simplified the systems, what it's incentivized us to do is make the actual scenarios much larger than would be reasonable in the regular systems, right?
That's really nice.
So we use that streamlined nature to make something that is larger and more sophisticated, more epic, but is manageable for a stream as a result.
Yeah, because I feel like that's a big struggle with something like 5th edition, right? If you get like a bunch or really a massive combat, it becomes unwieldy to run.
And in the new Dragonlance, they have a mass combat system.
Haven't
It's
read it
essentially
yet,
a board game written by Rob Davio, who created the legacy gameplay framework with Risk. You know what I mean? So it's like mass combat has its own very specific dynamics that regular D&D is not really designed to manage.
But these mech rules do a good job of
Oh
getting
my
you.
gosh. Well, I mean, I think you'll agree. I mean, if you take a look at that first episode, I think that you'll agree that it's designed and ready to help do that stuff.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed the interactions with I forget the man who's GMing, but you got like
Oh, that's Eric. That's my friend Eric.
it was like your father, your uncle, who is a strong arming you for a
Logan.
piece of the pie. I just really enjoyed. I was
Dude,
enjoying
check that second episode. If you like that interaction, come get the second episode because it's largely about these types of social interactions and my character is Stavron Otho trying to take two jobs at once. So his mercenary organization has been offered two jobs at the same time that happen to be on opposite sides of the same conflict. So in the last episode, he thinks he's figured out a way to take both of these jobs and still get paid for both of them.
But then in comes.
You'll like it. That episode is really, really funny, actually. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. It has a lot of tender stuff, too.
Nice. I think so. Thank you so much for just giving me this time. I don't want to keep
I'm
you too long, but
overjoyed.
let's talk some food for a minute. Not gaming. So you're on the West Coast, and we were
Yeah.
talking a little soup dumpling. I feel like there was a connection to talking about the soup dumplings.
Oh, yeah.
Thin skin.
Our soup dumplings,
Thick
at least
skin.
out in that neck of the woods. I mean, it depends on where you go. If you head over like maybe Jade Garden, they've got a pretty thick dumpling, pretty thick noodle dumpling. But a lot of the dumplings that we have that are just sort of common in that area, they're very, very thin, very, very thin noodle. And then it's just, when the last time I was out in New York, it was around my birthday, we ended up going to a place, it's called Joe's Shanghai.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's still there.
The one in Chinatown I think is gone, but there's another one.
Oh,
There may be one in Queens. I think something happened with And
that's the
I'll
one
tell
I
you
went
this,
to.
The surprising thing about Joe's Shanghai, a long time ago I went there, and I mentioned my wife Chinese American, so a lot of her family Chinese. We went to Joe's Shanghai.
Got opinions on Chinese food, which is
Absolutely.
reasonable.
Their other food is really good because usually my thinking was, okay, Joe's Shanghai, we're just gonna eat the soup dumplings. But then we
And they're
actually
good.
sampled the rest, and they're amazing. But we sampled the rest of their menu, and it was good. But yeah, that old location out there is
Oh.
gone, I believe.
Heartbreaking. But anyway, again, they're a soup dumpling. I'm always gonna have that jiaozi. I don't care.
You like
Thin
the
or
shrimp,
thick,
you like pork,
Thin or thick. A juicy pork dumpling is the tits. Now I do enjoy the shumai. I mean, I'm fine with a little shrimp up on top of the meatball. It's
Yeah.
like, why choose? Why not get both?
What's hilarious about that, I think I asked my wife one time, what other cuisine, and maybe you could think of one, puts shrimp and pork together? Because if someone just said to me, just generically, okay, Todd,
It's
you want to have
deeply
a
rare.
pork and shrimp dish, I would say something.
It's
something's
deeply
wrong.
rare. I mean, some of these bifurcations, I think that they're colloquial or they're cultural. Like the idea that you wouldn't put those two together, it's just a weird idea that we have. So there's another example, like there's a dish called mapo tofu.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But that has pork and tofu. Generally speaking, if you have tofu in a dish out my way, it's because you've ordered the vegetarian version.
Right.
But this has tofu and pork in the same dish.
Well, I think that's what we forget, right? Is that tofu is not this vegetarian. It's
No.
it's an ingredient.
Exactly right.
Well, see, I used to live in Morocco. Morocco being in couscous.
Oh,
But
big-
couscous in Morocco is very different than, say, couscous California, where
What's
they
it like?
turn it into like a side dish. And it turns like, no, couscous is like your thing.
no, couscous is the base, right?
Yeah, and like, but like when you have couscous, like that's your meal. It's not like a little bit of couscous
On the
cold
side in a little
on
bowl.
the side. It's like that's not.
It's not a
That's,
salad.
it's, right. It is not this. It is not a garnish.
It's
It
rice.
is like it is like the big.
It serves the
mound of
same
stuff.
role, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good
so
shit.
it's always funny when you take things away. But yeah, your point about tofu, it's great because everyone here thinks about like, oh, I want the vegetarian option is the tofu, but that's not.
And that's no,
not
this
really
is
what
just
it is.
another protein thing, and it has its own texture and its own flavor. You can tune it and customize it, and that's just part of the system, right?
For sure. So what do you like to eat? You come every year with the Boston. You do
Oh,
like position. What do you?
I have never missed a PAX East.
So where do you like to eat?
So unfortunately, my answer is going to be dumb, because I'm a simple man. Oh no, it's fine. Now I do like to have a steak the last night.
All right.
I don't eat them otherwise.
You have a very particular steak style,
well,
wet, dry.
oh no, it's got to be medium rare. But I mean, I just go to wherever there's room. It's either Morton's or Del Frisco, down by the water, right? Now, but when it comes to just like where am I going to go in Boston, it's not impressive at all. It is a very small place called My Diner, and it is just sort of like right south of here, just a few blocks. And it is the most simple, most ordinary place you can possibly imagine. It's literally just a classic diner, and it's perfect. After the show, and just in terms of the level of stimulation that's like the norm here, I head over there. I order my end game scenario is that I order a bagel, like a buttered toasted bagel, and then I order the egg side,
Right.
and I order the bacon side,
And then you put it all together.
and then I make a sandwich from that, and then I drink their OK coffee from their
Right.
thick ceramic mugs that have advertisements on them, and I feel like $1 million.
That's awesome. I'm going to mention a place you'll probably never go there because it's not anywhere near here. But there's a town. I can't remember the name of it. Where it is now? It's sort of midway between New York City and kind of going into Massachusetts. And
It might be a minute. Yeah, I mean, might be
yeah,
tough to
but
get
there's
there.
a little diner in this town, and it's weird. 'Cause I don't know who's in there that's Asian, but they have pho, and they've got
Really?
like burger, and it's just a small. It's one of these things that looks like the train car. That's
It
kind
has
of thing.
pho and burgers?
Pho, burgers, and then like
Teriyaki?
they got like Mexican. They got a couple
What?
Mexican dishes. But I'll tell you what, my wife swears every time because we drive through there, and there's a Harney and Sons. It's kind of a pretty well-known tea place. Has like their tea headquarters there, and there's a coffee place that does their own called Irving Farms. Has their sort of coffee roastery there, so they get good coffee and good tea.
That's actually one of my other hobbies.
Millerton is the name of
Is
town,
coffee
sorry.
roasting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We have time. I'll hit you up on that. So it's kind of in this little town, but it's got some good things. So, this little diner, you wouldn't know it's called Oakhurst Diner, and here's what my wife gets. This is her meal every time we go now. We've gone now, I don't know, 6 or 8 times now. Pho and tater tots. That's her order.
I mean, look, I can see it. The right pho broth.
It's
Like,
she loves
pho
it.
exists like obviously in a range, and pho is very, very common in Seattle for whatever reason. And like the best pho I've ever had in my life is like in a mall food court at a special mall. Like there's a mall in what we call the International District in Seattle, and it's in the food court of a grocery store called the Wajmaya. It's literally food court pho. It's the best broth I have ever had in pho. Even though it's like served in a plastic bowl, you look back in there and you see a bunch of grandmas going hog wild back there, and you know it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
You know it's going to work.
I mean, that's the stuff. I mean, that's you just
You
go
know
to
it's
these weird little
you know
places,
it's going to
but-
work.
Yeah, totally. I had something else I was going to ask you, and coffee roast. So what do you do? 'Cause I know you. So I don't drink alcohol, but I know you do stuff with beer and brewing and all that. So
I
you
brew
move from that.
I brew. Yes.
Coffee.
Yes, exactly. So I went from brewing to coffee roasting.
Where do you get your fresh? Do you go like, was it Sweet Maria's for your?
Yeah.
Where do you get your beans?
Well, why do you know about that?
Because I'm a big coffee nerd.
Really?
I don't roast because like I live in New York City and I don't roast in New York City.
Well,
but
they got coffee out there.
I've bought other coffee paraphernalia from Sweet Maria's, and I know
paraphernalia.
That's
What like needles and like surgical ties?
I it wasn't needles, but it was some knitting. Because I don't know if you. So I do espresso. That's what I do coffee. Okay, so I do the that technique where you.
You spread the grounds and then
I have
compress.
like the needles, and I do, but my needles are like these they're like darning needles. Like I found on Amazon.
Wow.
It's I don't know if you're into that, but because I've seen some of the things you can. I mean, you're made of money these days, but some of the things you can buy for
I would not say that's the case.
stirring tools. They'll charge you an arm and a leg.
If you can't run your convention for a couple of years, things get pretty bad. But I've seen
go
them.
to Amazon
I've
and
seen
you get
them on
like these
TikTok.
darning needles, and they even come with like a wooden piece that just
Yes,
gets into, and
that
it
holds
works.
in, and then you give it a stir, then you compress. So for me,
Perfect.
our VP of Business Development, which is to say my friend Eric, he got me an espresso, like a small but good espresso machine for Christmas. I got him a Steam Deck, and he got me this.
Nice.
So the affection is real. But so for me, espresso is still quite new. I'm still dialing in the roast I want for that. Because generally
See,
speaking,
you're adding the roast to the variable. That's a lot
I
to
drink
handle.
drip. I mean, for the most part, I drink drip because I want to drink a lot of coffee. Like I might have in the morning, I might have 4 cups of coffee.
So have you gotten a good grinder for your espresso machine? Because that's the key.
Oh
is
no,
the
I got
grind.
that conical burr. I mean, I got that Aaron burr. I go hot wild with. I'm satisfied with that, but with espresso, I know that it's possible to get very, very sophisticated on that. So for now, I'm just building my basic skills in terms of milk frothing, and
Nice.
I'm building the rest of the barista
Do you do the
skills.
trick of putting a little bit of soap into the thing so you don't waste a lot of milk? You can practice your.
So
Yeah, you take a little dish soap. So you put some water in your frothing.
dude, that might actually be
Put
great.
like 2 squirts. You can look online, just a little bit, and then you get the bubbles,
No.
and so you can do that.
See,
And then,
my vessel is actually quite good, but that would be a really handy way to get good clean
yeah.
on the wand.
Oh, that too, and it just lets you just try things if you don't want to go through a lot of milk. If you're not intending to drink it. Just
Oh
let it-
yeah, but see, I mean, I got 13 and 17 at home in terms of my girls, and so
13-year-old already on the coffee.
well, no, for them I use that. For them, that machine is a hot cocoa
Oh
machine.
yeah, like the baby chino kind of.
I can deliver the hot cocoa for these kids, and it's executed at a high level.
See, my daughter did not appreciate when I've made her that she's just like, oh, daddy, it's not quite sweet. It's sweet as I get her.
Oh no. I mean, my girls, they feel like Dad's doing a good job.
Nice.
But no. In terms of the actual roasting, I mean, again, for the most part, I make drip, right? And so I'm able to execute that at. I mean, I've been roasting since 2006.
Oh, wow, so you've been doing that long.
Yeah. So I have a robust level of.
How do you like? Are you dark, first crack,
expertise.
second crack, full city? Where do you?
There's no second crack. I mean, if a few of the beans second crack, that's okay, but that's for drip. That's not what we want.
You're not going Starbucks. Just burn it to hell.
No, we do not want roast character to eclipse origin character, and so we want to get them popping. We want that popcorn sound. We don't want that campfire sound, and so for me, it's very analog. Like the process is olfactory, it's auditory, it's a full sensorium thing. When I'm watching them in there tumbling, I want to make sure that I'm hitting the cool, I'm taking the heat off, so that we might get a little bit of second crack. Because my wife actually likes a little bit darker roast.
Yeah, my wife does too.
And so between the two of us, if I let second crack go for a little bit, everybody's happy.
Nice.
So,
when are we going to see Acquisitions Incorporated coffee?
dude, listen, our designers would love for me to do that. My biz dev guy Eric, like I was saying before, we have absolutely investigated white label roasting local to us because my designers would just love to design a coffee brand. That would be reason enough for me to do it. it is literally not impossible. The way that I would do it would be to create something like a coffee club, where we would buy a burlap sack of beans, because Seattle is a coffee town.
Yeah,
it's not hard to get industrial inputs for something like that. They have great roasters up on Finney Ridge, like Herkimer, which is my personal favorite locally. If you're ever in town, Herkimer, that's the spot.
I've heard of them.
Herkimer's Ethiopian blend is the best coffee I've ever had at retail. And so, obviously, the best case scenario for us is that we can make a good relationship with them. I mean, there's all these places that we go to and we really like and have personal relationships with. We can make a personal relationship with somebody, buy it in a bag, and then sell the lot as a club and say, hey, we have 100 spots per month, and that'll make sure the whole thing stays on the right side of profitability, and then we can turn out something really, really world class for that small group.
Is there a particular? What do you like? Do you like fruity? Do you like the chocolatey? Where do you come in?
For me, I mean, I think Ethiopian coffee is the best.
Have you had that like blueberry bombs from Ethiopia?
Of course. I think Ethiopian coffee is the best, and whether it's fruity or whether it's stone fruit, earthy, spicy, even almost like on the edge of broth, like almost savory, cannabinoid, like any of those things, like any of those angles, like Ethiopian coffee, to my opinion, it's not complex. It's not an argument. It's the best coffee in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to like it a lot.
Yeah.
I can't say that I have enough where I can say that I've sampled enough in a way that I could say with any sort of certainty, but I know whenever I see kind of Ethiopian coffees, that they're done by well roasted.
It is never, it's never going to be the wrong call. Totally. Right?
Well, listen, thanks again. Just thanks so much.
Anytime.
One thing I'll mention.
I'm at your service.
I don't know why I'm even recording it, but I was in London and I tried a tea. So we were at this tea, like one of these high teas, right? And they had a tasting. And it was a tea from Colombia that tasted like coffee. It was wow. And I feel like I wish I could tell you the name of it, but if you're into such, you should seek it out because it's really interesting.
But if you're out in my neck of the woods, like I say, Seattle way, head up to Victoria. They have a high tea at the Empress up there in Canada. You can get there super fast via the Clipper. It's like a hydrofoil boat from Seattle to Victoria, BC. You're gonna be out there. You might as well take the trip. They have a high tea up to the Empress. You will emerge from this as husband of the year if you are able to pull this off. But of course, they have a range of great teas, biscuits. It's just
it's a great thing to experience at least once. Well, I hope I will get to see you later at the
I'll be there
at the show. If not, I will check it out, and I'm sure it'll go up on YouTube within days.
It will indeed.
So thanks again. Thanks so much. And
my great pleasure.
Have a great
anytime.
show.
Anytime. Absolutely.